Kritika, welcome to Moneyhop Q&A session. Great to have you over here today. So, a lot of people know about IELTS, PTE, and all. Can you tell a little bit about TOEFL, its structure, and where all it applies?
Sure, definitely. First of all, Vishnu, thank you so much for inviting me on this platform. And starting with your question about this examination called TOEFL. So it is just like other examinations that we already have for English language proficiency. One of the most globally taken is IELTS. PT is also there, and then comes TOEFL. In fact, TOEFL is most widely accepted by most universities all across the globe. It stands for Test of English as a Foreign Language, and it is conducted by a body called ETS, Educational Testing Services. This is, in fact, another alternative that many students have. It's completely computer driven, and it's a test which would take less than 2 hours. And TOEFL has more credibility, in fact, when it comes to any other examination. And like I said earlier, it is accepted by a large number of universities, I think over 11,000 universities all across the globe. So, one of the best tests, I must say, it is for English language proficiency. And I would highly recommend an examination like TOEFL for most students because when it comes to the accuracy in terms of assessment, the acceptance rate, and in fact, it is more test taker friendly. Like, and mostly because of the duration, I must say. Because if you talk about any other examination, it can take us more than 2 hours, and it's not the case with TOEFL. So, kind of quite a test taker friendly examination, I must say it is.
Can you tell about the format? Is it the same like IELTS,
Definitely.
writing, listening? So, how is the format? How much time each session takes?
If you look at any English language proficiency exam, it will have the four basic skills which are evaluated: reading, listening, writing, and speaking. So is the case with TOEFL also. However, in TOEFL, everything will be taken on the computer, including speaking and writing. So if we look at the format, if I break it down, so if I say it is less than 2 hours, then each skill precisely, if you see, it will take you approximately 30 to 35 minutes. In fact, less than that for two of the skills. So reading is going to be the first skill. If we start, it is reading, then listening, speaking, and writing. There is no break in the test because it is like a short test, so there is no break. Reading will take us 35 minutes, followed by listening. Immediately after that, there is listening, which is around 36 minutes. Then there is a speaking, short speaking test of 16 minutes, and writing, which, like I was saying earlier, that it is test taker friendly. I must mention this that the writing section of TOEFL is compared to any other test short, and precisely it is taken. It's just 29 minutes, almost close to half an hour. And reading will have only two passages, where each passage will have 10 questions. They're all objective. So there's no typing involved anywhere in reading. They just have to select the correct answer. And there is no negative marking. Followed by listening, where candidates will be listening to certain conversations and lectures. They'll be played one after the other. And then after a lecture is over, after a track, the recording is over, they answer 5 to 6 questions. Now, the catch is that these questions will also appear one after the other. So, in listening, you will not see all the questions in one go. So, you answer one, you select your choice, and then you move on to the next. Then you move on to the next. So, you see those set of 5 or 6 questions, one after the other. Then one part is over, then another track plays. So, like this, they are going to listen to 5 different tracks. So, what are these tracks going to be? They're going to be completely either conversation or lecture, but in an academic context. So, these people who are going to take TOEFL is primarily for their education abroad. So, TOEFL has been designed in such a way that whatever you're going to listen to will be in a university setting. So, it could be a conversation between a professor and a student. Let's say you are the student, I am a professor, and you approach me for some challenge or an issue that you're facing, and you need some assistance, and I guide you. For example, it could be about your some research project or a paper that you are coming to me, and you say that you have this problem. You're not able to, grab the essential points for it, or you do not know how to organize them, and you seek my help. And then I tell you, okay, this is how you have to be doing it. So as a test taker, I need to listen to those points, understand what is being said, and then I will have questions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'll have questions. I answer that and I move on. So this is one type of content that you can listen to, and then there is lecture. Like the name says, lecture will be purely a university lecture. So maybe there's a lecture happening on possibly biology. Maybe the teacher is telling us something about muscles, voluntary muscles, involuntary muscles, some examples she's quoting, or it could be about geography. Maybe the lecture is about earthquakes, how earthquakes occur. You hear something about tectonic plates and all that, the Richter scale and everything. You listen to that, you take notes, and then you're going to answer the questions. So, giving a short idea on what kind of content do you listen to, it's purely academic. So that doesn't mean that you and I should be scholars who have studied geography, or should be people who have some expertise in biology or physics, nothing like that. It's only English language that is being assessed. So they're not checking our academic expertise. You have to listen to it, and then the questions will be based on the content that they are giving to you. So this is about listening. So here, how many questions are we going to get? 28. Because there are going to be 5 different tracks. So in some tracks, you will have just 5 questions. In some tracks, you will have 6 questions. So in total, you will get 28. Here also, there is no typing involved. You only listen. You also take notes. So in the examination, you will be given a provision to take notes. And then you refer to those notes and you keep answering the question. And you have to do it back to back. But there is no option to go back to a previous segment. But in reading, on the other hand, in reading, we have an option like we can move back and forth. So the whole screen will show you passage to one side, questions to the other side, 35 minutes timer will be running. So I'm doing question number 1, then I'm doing question number 2. I'm not able to do question number 3, I can go to 4. I'm talking about reading right now. So in reading, you can do that. So in those 35 minutes, you can move back and forth. You can solve all the 10 questions. The total 20 questions will be there from 2 passages. But once listening begins, there's no choice of going back. You can only go forward. So test takers should be aware of this point. So once reading is complete, immediately we start with listening. There are lectures, you take notes, you answer the question, everything on the screen. So there is no paperwork you're doing. You will be given some scratch papers to take notes for whatever note taking you have to do. But then you're not submitting answers on a paper. You're doing everything on the screen. It gets submitted there. Then immediately after that, you start with your speaking. So once we do speaking, there is something called integrated speaking that happens, by which I mean that you're not doing just speaking. You will also have components of reading and listening also involved in speaking. So there are only 4 questions. All these 4 questions, they'll get recorded. As a test taker, you're going to give response to those questions. They'll get recorded. And the entire answer set that you provide, it is not only evaluated through AI, but also through certified human raters. So that is why I was saying that in terms of accuracy and credibility, TOEFL stands first. So in these 4 questions, if I break it down, the first question is the only question where you will be asked to give an opinion on something. Very basic questions. For example, do you prefer a large group of friends or small? Something like this. So let's say I prefer a small group of friends. I have to give substantial reasons for that why. So I'm not being rated on why do I prefer a small group of friends, but how do I speak on this question? My grammar, my vocabulary, the kind of confidence I have when I'm speaking that, and my fluency. Do I have an obstructed speech, or am I able to speak for as long as possible in that given stipulated time, and within which I'm able to show a good range of grammar, vocabulary, and my pronunciation is correct. by which I mean that whatever you're speaking, it is clear, your speech clarity. All these components will be assessed and you'll be given a rating. So it is the only question where you speak your mind. I'll give some more examples. The first question of speaking could be something about agreement or disagreement. So they may ask you, okay, do you agree or disagree? The children should help their parents in doing household chores. Something like this. Do you agree or disagree that experienced doctors are far better than young doctors? Something like this. Or possibly all school students, all university students must wear a uniform. Do you agree or disagree? Something like this can come. So the questions are basically something on which we speak our mind, what we believe in, what we feel on that given topic. We have to speak, but for how long? The time length is very short, 45 seconds. That's all. It's a max that you can speak, and it gets recorded. So you see the question on the screen. So let's say I have my screen in front of me and I see the question. They give me prep time of 15 seconds for that question. Immediately after 15 seconds, the timer begins and I have to now start talking. I'll be able to navigate through it, that how much time do I have left. So it will be running, the timer will be running, and within that time, I have to record my response. So that's the first question. But what about the remaining three? The major chunk of speaking is revolving around listening and a little bit of reading. So like I told you, in listening, we have lectures and conversation. Same thing happens here. So you would listen to certain lectures and conversation, but you will have a little bit of reading also. So in few questions, it is listening, reading, speaking. So they give you a little bit of reading passage, very short one, not large content, maybe less than 100 words, 100 or less than 100 words passage will be visible to you. For example, just to quote an example, let's say there is a university change regarding the timings of a particular class. So maybe the physics class, which was held at 12 o'clock, 12 noon, now has been rescheduled. So all the students who are studying physics will have to attend it from 4 to 5 in the evening. That's a change. We see that change in like a notice board. We see that. Now, you and I are two students and two of us are discussing. It will sound like a regular conversation. Hi, Vishnu, and you say hi, Kritika, and all that. And then you say, did you get to see the change in the timetable? The physics class has been moved to 4 from 12 o'clock. Like that, they'll start. And now they'll start giving their opinion. Let's say you say that, oh, that's great. It's now at 4. I'm so happy, something like that. You start and I say, no, I'm disappointed. This is going to be such a task for me to attend it at 4 o'clock. Now you ask me, why? What's wrong? I thought that students would be happy attending at 4. And now I give you my opinion. No, because at 4 o'clock I have so and so thing. Or maybe I have some additional responsibilities in the university, which I cater to in the evening hours. So I will be missing all my classes now. So she is disappointed. And she'll give you 2 reasons why she is disappointed. Now that is our question. Summarize what the woman said about the change in the timetable. So now, you and I, if we are test takers, we cannot say that we are happy or not. We'll say, what did the woman tell us? So that's the thing. So this happens in the conversation question, but similar to that, there is a lecture. So in listening also we have lectures, same way in speaking also we have lectures where maybe the teacher is telling us something about microscopes. When was the first microscope invented, and then how did they find different microorganisms, something like that. And now the question is about that. Summarize what the professor mentioned about microscope. Or possibly, to give another example, maybe let's say the question is about behavior modification. And the professor, it's about a psychology class, and the teacher is telling us that how people tend to change their behavior based on the circumstances and the consequences of their action. So if the consequence is good, they tend to repeat that behavior. And if it is bad, they avoid that behavior. She is teaching this and she is giving some example. And the example she gives is of children. That when children are doing well in their studies, they are appreciated by their parents, their teachers, maybe they are rewarded. So what does the child do? He or she would repeat that behavior of doing well in the class. That is behavior. So he or she is modifying the behavior based on the consequence. However, if he breaks a valuable item, he is scolded by his parent. So he will be aware that he shouldn't be doing such kind of an action again. So he modifies his behavior in not doing or not repeating a particular action. So, like this, she's giving some example. So let's say I am the professor, I'm saying all this. So now your question can come that summarize what is behavior modification and and the example that the professor used to explain it. So I told you two examples of a good consequence and bad consequence. You have to tell the same. So you have to summarize that. So that's the kind of question you'll get in TOEFL speaking. All in all, whatever you get, you will be rated purely on language use, which includes grammar and vocabulary. Topic development. Topic development is how well you are able to take all the important elements. It's not that you are speaking. So a lot of students, they keep on speaking and speaking, but they miss out a lot of important points. You have to summarize everything in 60 seconds. That's the time that they give you to speak. And the length of the actual track can be even 2 minutes. You can't speak for 2 minutes. So how do you get the crux in 1 minute? What kind of language skills you're able to use? And you are able to deliver it by using different connectors. So it's not like bullet point 1, 2, 3, and then it's over. So if they're giving you 60 seconds, they expect you to speak closer to 60 seconds. It can be 50, 55. It can even be a 45 seconds content, but then it should have value. It shouldn't be that I just said 2, 3 points and my answer is over, thinking that, oh, I have given all the important points. That is not the case. That is why it's important to work on the structure of how you have to deliver the answer. So this is what they test in speaking. So out of the 4 questions, only one is the question where you talk about your own opinion, which is the case in IELTS actually. IELTS, throughout you're speaking your mind. Where are you from? What do you do? Okay, what kind of friends do you have? Do you like to read ebooks or do you like to read physical books? All of that. So you are talking about yourself. You can have any answer, but here in TOEFL, it's purely in a university setting. So it's kind of the content that you have to summarize. Major chunk is summary content. And your listening skills should also be sharp. So that's about speaking. How much are we speaking in total? If you see, there are 4 questions. First question, you speak only for 45 seconds. The remaining 3 are for maximum 1 minute. So even if I take the entire slot, the length of time, you're speaking for 3 minutes, 45 seconds. Whereas if you consider IELTS, where there's a proper interview for full 11 to 14 minutes, you're speaking. Throughout the conversation, you're speaking. But here it's not the case. You're speaking for hardly 3 minutes, 45 seconds. That's the length. Then comes writing. Then comes the final task will be writing. Writing has only 2 questions. I feel it's more scoring than any other exam because here in writing, there are 2 type of questions. They're very fixed what they are going to give you. The first question, just like speaking, is integrated writing, where we'll have a listening, where we'll have to read, and then we write. Now, what exactly it is? The first question is for 20 minutes. 20 minutes of only the writing time. But before that, we will get a passage. The passage will be visible on the screen. It will be a long passage, like 250, 300 word length passage, like a proper essay, you will see. 3 to 4 paragraphs will be in it. It can be on any topic. Now, I'm giving you the simplest example. Let's say it is about some bird which got extinct. Let's say the name of the bird is dodo. Dodo bird got extinct. And as I read through the passage, the paragraphs that I have, they tell me about why it got extinct. It got extinct because of human behavior, human activities. And then each para, I have 1, 2, 3, is telling me 3 evidences that, okay, humans did this. Or the bird has this particular feature because of which human captured it and it got extinct. Because humans were hunting it and all that, it is written. So mainly the passage is telling me that there used to be a bird but the bird is extinct now. And the extinction happened because of human activities. So I read that. I'm getting some evidence. Now we will listen to a lecture. And there is a fixed pattern in TOEFL. The lecture that you would listen to will also be about the dodo bird. It will also tell you that, yeah, that bird got extinct. But it will tell you the opposite. It will tell you that the passage says it got extinct because of human behavior, but that is not the case. It got extinct because of some other reasons. And it will tell you counter arguments of what the writer said. So it is writer versus speaker. So if the writer is saying that these are the reasons, okay, this thing happened, the speaker will say the opposite. No, this didn't happen. Something else happened. Or there is not enough proof. Something like that he'll say. Or, for instance, let's say the passage is about some kind of technology which will help us in reducing pollution, or some type of technology which will help us in not letting the sea life get affected, and some proof 1, 2, 3 that okay, this will happen as a result and we will be saving the world or the environment. The speaker will say the exact opposite, that hey, this particular technology is useless, it will not be helpful. Or maybe passage tells us about advantages of something. For example, computerized voting. It says that, okay, you know what? Let us not have manual voting. Let us have computerized voting. And this voting system will be beneficial in such way. And he tells you 3 benefits. Usually, always there are 3 arguments which will be there. This is argument 1. You will not have any dishonesty because it is computerized. He says that. Then he says, okay, next benefit is that it will cut down the cost. You don't have to have expenses on paper ballot every time. You're just creating the machine and then the machine will do all the work. And third, he says that apart from that, it is going to, there will not be any kind of loss of votes because it is getting registered on a computer system. But if a paper ballot is lost, it's gone. Then we don't know who that person voted for. So this is his argument. So when we read this, we immediately know that the speaker, if he is saying that there are plus points, the speaker will say the minuses. And he will say exact counter argument. If he says there won't be any dishonesty, he will tell you the opposite. That okay, any hacker can hack the system and he will let the vote go for the favored party. So for no dishonesty, he is telling no hacking is possible. Then he said, okay, it will cut down the cost. Then this guy says, the speaker says, it will add on to the cost. Why? He'll give the reason. He'll say, see, what will happen? Government has to first establish so many computer centers. Okay, even if they do that, they have to do constant maintenance also, which is more expensive than making a paper ballot. So it is not going to cut costs. It is going to add to the cost. So you get my point that if he is saying something, he'll say the exact opposite. Now the third point was, okay, we will not have any loss of vote. So this guy says, how is that possible? It is a machine. It can undergo mechanical failure. And if it undergoes mechanical failure, all the votes will be lost. So if the writer says something, the speaker will say something opposite to counter argue. Now, what is our job? The question is, summarize the lecture stating how he contradicts the writer. That's the task. And you have to present a summary in a formal style, and you have to present it at 150 to 225 words. 150, 180 is a good length. That's our task. And to type that, we will get complete 20 minutes. And when you do so, the whole passage that you read initially when you were given time to read the passage, it will reappear. So even if you missed something, you felt that, oh, I forgot a particular point, the passage will reappear. No lecture will be replayed. Whatever listening you do throughout the test, it is played only once. In the listening section, in speaking also we had listening, and this is a final one listening that we have in writing. This is one question out of the 2 of writing. Then there is another question which is shorter, just 10 minutes question. It's more like we all use social media. There are so many, platforms on which we share our opinions. So something similar will be given, but like an academic platform. So a professor raises a question and two students have already answered it. And then we have a particular space given to us to share our response. For example, social media is considered to be more of a boon, more of a bane than a boon. This is what professor says. What do you think? What do you think? Is it a boon or a bane? And I have one student who has given his answer. I can see that on the screen. So let's say there is Michael and there is Kelly. Michael says it is a boon. Kelly says it is a bane. So you can even read what are the points for boon, what are the points for bane, fine. But the question is, give your answer. Give your personal opinion. How much can you write? At least 100 words. How much time do I have? 10 minutes. So in 10 minutes, I have to go through the question and also present a short answer. Just a paragraph would work. But it should be 100 words minimum. And I will get my rating based on that and the previous question on a scale of 5, which is then converted on a scale of 30 because an exam score is out of 120. Each skill, reading, listening, writing, speaking, it will be out of 30. So then out of 120, they give you the rating. So in writing also, just like speaking, there is AI rating and there is human rater also. So it is more accurate compared to any other test because other examinations, we have either only human raters or only AI rating. But TOEFL employs both. So, and once your test is over, immediately, you will be able to see your reading and listening score. Reading, listening, you'll be able to see how much you scored. But for writing and speaking, you have to wait for 3 to 4 days and then the whole test report is shared with you.
The next question is about the exact thing. So can you tell about the band or scores, how much a student should score to get eligibility to join their dream university? So how the entire thing works?
So since it is out of 120, if you ask me, a decent score which helps students to get into to enter a good university is a 90 plus out of 120. Anybody who's scoring a 90 plus, it's a decent enough score. However, based on the requirement of the student, sometimes certain courses are there when they may not require a very high score. So a lot of universities accept an 80, 85 also. I've heard students entering universities with a 75 as well. But if you look at good universities, then 90 plus is required. But when you're aiming top-notch universities, 100 plus. You've got 100 plus, it's a feather in your cap that you have really aced TOEFL. It's almost like getting a 7 plus band in IELTS. So if students are preparing, my piece of advice to them would be that prepare well, that you are falling in a range where you are touching 100, if not 100 or 90 plus, which is possible because it's not a very complicated test. It just needs the right techniques and practice. If they do that, they will be able to ace it and reach something which is a 90 or 100. And that opens doors to many universities.
Kritika, it was an incredible session. You shared a lot of insights. So the audience who are seeing this video would love to know about you and your brand. So can you tell us about it a little bit?
Definitely. So I am V. Kritika Krishna, and I have my classes under my personal brand name, which is Learn with VKK. I have been associated with this education and training industry for a very long time, close to 2 decades now. And I've worked with many major overseas education firms, and I've also been associated with various organizations where I help different aspirants on the skills like soft skills, working on their pronunciation, working on their English language proficiency, overall proficiency. So it's been a very long time in the industry. About Learn with VKK, I have been conducting classes for all the major English language proficiency exams, IELTS, TOEFL, PT, and also SAT. So I've been doing that. And these classes are going to be quite personalized. So there would be mostly one-on-one sessions that I do. This is primarily because each individual, each student who comes to me has a different score requirement, is aiming to enter a particular university. So the score range may be different, and even the learning requirement may be different. So I do classes which are mostly one-on-one, and it's not just for English language proficiency examination, but also if you are appearing for different interviews, you want to enhance your language skills, you want to work on your diction, your pronunciation, then I'm there to help you out. So that would be about me and my personal brand.
So thanks a lot, Kritika. So I believe the students who are watching this video and who are preparing for TOEFL exam greatly benefit from it. So thanks once again.
Definitely.
Okay, the
It
session.
would definitely be, I would be happy if anything that I shared, helps these students. But I just want to share one thing, that any examination that we are taking, a lot of students tend to feel that, okay, it is just English and we'll be able to crack it. See, every examination, not just IELTS, TOEFL, or PT, any exam that you go to, it has a structure, it has some sort of format. So all these students should be aware of that. They should know how much do they need to enter a particular university, and they should know their own command as well over the language. So assess that and do prepare for it properly, so that you're not in the loop of taking the examination time and again, because a lot of students take it 3 times, 4 times, because they're just self-preparing. So it's good to be aware of what their score requirements are and then accordingly prepare and take feedback and guidance from people who know about the test and who can help you ace it in one go, rather than going in that loop of taking examination 5 times, 6 times, 10 times. Don't do that. That would be one piece of advice.
Oh, that's great. I think the students definitely will get some takeaway from you.